Well, hello everyone and welcome to Momentum channel. My name is Mo, and in this video, I want to share with you a video that I recently came across, some of my reflection. This video focuses on the four phases of retirement. Even though I'm not yet retired, but as I'm pursuing early retirement, I thought this video really resonated with me and gave me a few nuggets to reflect on how I can prepare better for retirement once it comes. And I'm hoping this video actually adds value for some of you who may be also be pursuing your journey of financial independence and perhaps with the goal of reaching retirement early. At the end of the video, I'll of course provide an overview of the investment portfolio that my wife and I have. It's currently sitting just shy of $600,000, which is quite inspiring for us. We've definitely made quite good progress over the past several months, and where things are at with this portfolio and how we intend to build it into our future early retirement portfolio. Without any further ado, let's get into it. All right, this is the video that I was talking to you about. It's called The Four Phases of Retirement by Dr. Riley Moynes. And it was a TEDx talk, in fact, in this video, which was roughly shared here about a year ago, but I recently came across. Dr. Riley actually talks about the four phases of retirement. The first phase in which he talks about is what he calls it as a vacation phase, a little bit of a literal vacation in the sense that once you hit retirement, you have a lot of time, you can do a lot of vacationing and really go on holidays and whatnot, but not always necessarily that literal way of looking at it. The other aspect of this phase that he's talking about is the fact that during this phase, you get to that honeymoon stage whereby you don't have any routine. You don't have to get up at certain point in the morning, having to go back necessarily to work. You have the utmost level of freedom. You get to decide when to wake up, what to do during your day, plan your day accordingly as you wish, and you can change things as your heart desires. You have a lot of freedom, and that financial freedom, and not only just actually financial, but also a lot of life freedom. One could argue and talk about a lot of time that you have. He talks about how this phase may last quite some several months, let's say anywhere between that 1 year to maybe even 2 years time frame. Now, comes after that phase two, and that's where he coins it as almost like a lost phase, whereby you start to realize, you've lost certain things that used to be so much, involved in. Like, for example, that sense of routine, that sense of identity, that sense of belonging. Imagine if you've been working for many, many years, if you've built those relationships with your coworkers, with your, let's say, colleagues at work, also that sense of identity and possibly some sense of power, particularly if you had a position of power or an authority. Those are some of the things that you realize that you've already lost, and now hits those kind of lack of those identities comes to play a part for you. Now, phase two does not have to take that long. And in fact, some people with proper planning could actually skip past through phase two and to go to phase three, which is what is called as trial and error. That's the phase that you start exploring other things that you could do during your free time. So, for example, it could be things that you're passionate about, things that you're always wanted to do, but perhaps were lazy enough to do, or maybe didn't have the time to pursue. That's why it's called trial and error. You try different things and see which one of them actually interests you the most. So, for example, say if you've always wanted to go to the gym, or if you always wanted to learn how to play an instrument, or like maybe play how to swim, or any sort of activities that you've always desired to do, this is an excellent phase for you to explore and find out which one of them are the things that interest you the most. And in fact, you possibly have some sort of passion and also some interest and talent in it, because yeah, there might be something that you really wanted to always do, but if you don't feel like you have the greatest talent in it, after some time it might get boring, or it might get disappointing if you're not really seeing much progress. Again, it depends on your state of mind and what your expectations are, but if you can find something that you're super passionate about and also you're really good at, that could be really an excellent endeavor for you to pursue during that trial and error, which can actually nicely lead to that fourth phase, which is what, according to this author, he almost calls it as reinvent and rewire. That's the phase whereby you are really found your strengths. You've already found your area that you're passionate about, what you are really fully enjoying, and how you can capitalize on that. Let's say, for example, during that phase of trial and error, you've explored volunteering for a certain cause that you're really passionate about. And through that exercise, you understand that this is something that you're really good at. You're adding value to that organization, adding value to the community, but you're also getting a lot of value back to yourself, like that sense of fulfillment, that sense of self-realization. Those are the things that really could lead you towards picking that as a kind of a lifelong almost pursuit, and adds value to your life, recharges you and gives you a lot of energy, and at the same time you know that you're adding a lot of value. The author and the speaker here talks about, in many cases, that in that phase 4, many of the things that folks find value in are the things that are, for the most part, are in the service of others. That's something that he's noticed that is quite common. Now, when I personally reflect on these 4 phases, to me, obviously, it sounds like phase 2 can be scary because it could lead to a lot of, like, almost like midlife crisis or late life crisis. And at the same time, it could be really, disappointing, or not really as of a enjoyable phase that one can come across. As I reflect on it, I think there are ways for us to try to avoid that once we get to that retirement age. And I think probably the best way to do that is try to bring that phase 3, which is trial and error, maybe earlier on in our lives. Say, even right now, when I'm not still retired and still in my working years, and I have still several years to go before I hit to that even early retirement, I could still explore doing things that perhaps I have always wanted to do, but maybe I always was like really reluctant to try it out, or maybe was always postponing to the next day. Why can't I actually try it out earlier on and try to understand what are some of those things that I get a lot of joy out of? And give you one example. Several weeks ago, in fact, I think closer to the beginning of the year, I started dabbling into going to the rec center that we have in our city, and the facilities are wonderful. I started exploring, going to swimming, the swimming pool there, and I absolutely loved it. In fact, I was able to maintain that pattern of going to these swimming practices for several weeks in a row. Now, admittedly, I've kind of slowed down a little bit. There has been a few weeks that I have stopped going, but nonetheless, it's definitely something that I found that I'm really enjoying, and I really I'm passionate about it. And I found after the fact, after I came back from swimming, I felt a lot more energized. I felt a lot more, happier, and all the impacts that it has, the positive impacts that it has on you in terms of both mental and also physical. So that's something that I would like to continue to explore and continue to pursue. And I think it's also helpful, not only from that mental aspect but also from a health aspect, because our health is truly one of the greatest gift that we have, and we want to make sure we work at it. That was just one example to tell you that, here's how I'm thinking, that there are so many things that we could perhaps do that trial and error earlier on, and identify what are some of those activities, or things that we enjoy the most, so that once we hit to that early retirement or retirement age, we don't have to really dabble at that time, and we have already actually by then built some of those positive healthy habits that we can build on and continue to cherish for many years to come, hopefully with health and blessing. I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts about these 4 phases of retirement that was shared in this video? I will definitely add the link of the video in the video description so you can watch it out on your own. But I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Is there any phase that resonates with you the most? How do you think we can better prepare for that retirement age once we've hit there? Or if you're already a retiree, can you resonate with any of these phases? I would love to hear from you. With that out of the way, why don't we move over and take a look at the portfolio that my wife and I have built. It's a portfolio mainly consisting of 3 individual ETF funds. These are broad market diversified ETFs. Our biggest holding, as you can see, over 91% of our holdings are in it, is XEQT. XEQT is iShares Core Equity ETF portfolio. It consists of indirectly over 9,000 companies worldwide. It mainly, deep down, if you look at XEQT, it in fact consists of 4 different ETFs that gives us exposure to the US stock market, Canadian stock market, international developed market, and as well as emerging markets. So I love that how it simplifies things. It's in fact considered an all-in-one ETF asset allocation, which means just by picking this one single ETF, we didn't actually have to do anything else. We can simply rely on this one single ETF and have a diversified approach in the entire stock market. That said, my wife and I have added two additional ETFs to our portfolio, and I would call them almost equivalencies in many ways of X equity, but in US dollars, particularly VT, which is the Vanguard Total World Stock Index Fund. With VT, we are getting exposure to the entire stock market, but in US dollars, and it has less of an exposure to Canadian market. Only about 3% of actually the exposure is to Canadian market, unlike X equity, which has higher exposure to Canadian market. We are keeping the shares of VT and VTI in our RSP accounts. The main reason is we want to try to minimize as much as possible and very applicable the impact of withholding taxes. And the VTI is the other holding that we have. It's in US dollars and in RSP account. It's Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. VTI only gives us exposure to the entire US stock market. I've added as well the breakdown of our exposure by different geographies. You do see that currently, based on the combination of these ETF that we have, we are getting around 48% exposure to US, about 24% exposure to international developed markets, about 23% to Canadian markets, and remaining about 5% exposure to emerging markets. Not surprised that our number of shares of X equity is the largest. Currently, as you see, it's over 19,000 shares. And I've shown as well how much is the expected annual dividend income we get from each one of these ETFs. The overall expected annual dividend income for our portfolio currently sitting at close to just shy of $12,000. The focus for this portfolio is not dividend income. It's mostly focused on global diversification and total return, but it's nice to see that we have some dividend income coming in with an average approximate yield of 2% for the entire portfolio. And all of these dividend incomes are currently reinvested back into the same funds that they're coming from. So for example, any dividend income from X equities used back to buy more shares of X equity. Same goes for VT and VTI. Total value of the portfolio currently sitting at $594,726. I've also shown you here, as you can see, what is our overall return as well as the gain and loss of this portfolio since the beginning of the time that we started investing. Keep in mind, over time, we've changed our investment approach quite several times, and that's why the overall return may not exactly correspond to the returns that you see here for these individual ETFs, but that's the overall return based on how much we've deposited versus how much the current value of the portfolio is sitting at. Well, thank you so much everyone for watching this video until the end. I hope you found it beneficial and you gained something of value from it. If you did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, Momentum Finance. We post every week videos about investing in the stock market and ways to reach financial freedom. I also encourage you, if you haven't done that so already, to follow me on Blossom Social. Blossom Social app is an amazing community of investors here in Canada and US that are exchanging ideas, asking questions about investing, questions related to personal finances. There's also amazing content creators and investors there that have a ton of experience. I'm sure you're gonna love this app. I do check it every single day and engage with many other investors here in Canada and US every single day, and absolutely love it. I appreciate if you can join me on Blossom as well, using the referral link that is available in the video description and the bio. It would really mean a lot to me, and it definitely is one way you can help me and to support my channel and my content. With that, thank you so much, and I hope to see you all next time.